You change jobs, but you didn't change your trajectory. That's why nothing really feels different. The salary moved, the title improved, the environment changed, but the trajectory didn't. And you can feel it, even if you don't say it. Because after a few months, everything looks familiar again. Same type of work, same type of expectations, same type of growth. And that's not bad luck. That's the system repeating, and it will keep repeating until you change where you operate. Because you didn't change position. You just changed where you repeat the same pattern. And repeating the same pattern in a new place does not change the outcome. It just resets the timeline. So every move feels like progress, but you end up in the same place, just later. Most engineers think switching jobs is how you grow. And early on, that's true. You get a raise, you move faster, you increase your range. But that only works while you're still moving through expanding layers. At some point that stops, and you don't notice when it does, because everything still feels like progress, but it isn't. You stop moving up and start moving sideways. Different company, same layer, different team, same role, different stack, same structure. And that's where growth stops, not visibly, but structurally. Because the system is the same everywhere. Execution roles scale, leverage roles don't. Execution gets distributed, leverage gets concentrated. And if you stay in execution, you carry the same ceiling with you. Every time you move, you might get a bump. $10,000, $15,000, maybe more. But over time, the same limit appears again. Because nothing fundamental changed. You're still operating where the system distributes value, not where it concentrates it, which means every move feels like progress, but leads to the same outcome. That's why switching feels good, but doesn't solve the problem. It delays it, because the first few months feel like growth. New challenges, new systems, new context. But once you stabilize, the structure reveals itself. Again, there are still fewer roles above you, still limited upward space, still more competition at the same level, still the same constraints. And that's when it becomes clear. You didn't escape the limit. You reset inside it. And resetting inside a ceiling is still being inside it. And the more times you reset, the harder it becomes to see the pattern, because it keeps looking new, even when it's the same. There is also a pattern reinforcement. Every time you switch, you get better at operating in that layer. You adapt faster, you perform better, you integrate quicker. But all of that only makes you more valuable inside the same limit, not outside it. And that's where it compounds. Because now your experience starts to define you. Your profile reflects it. Your opportunities mirror it. Because now your profile tells the system exactly where to place you. And it keeps placing you there. Which means even when you try to move, you're pulled back into similar roles, with similar expectations, with similar limits. And that's when switching stops helping and starts trapping. Because now movement feels active, but direction is fixed, you're moving, but not changing trajectory. And over time, that becomes your path. This is why some engineers switch companies every 1 to 2 years, and still never break past a certain range, not because they lack ability, but because they keep moving horizontally, inside the same layer. And horizontal movement does not change trajectory, it just changes context. Real movement is different. It's not about changing companies, it's about changing position. Closer to decisions, closer to ownership, closer to systems that define outcomes. That's where leverage appears, and that's what changes income. But that shift doesn't happen automatically. It requires different decisions, different risks, different positioning, and most engineers don't make that shift. They switch jobs, but keep the same pattern. And that's where the trap repeats, because now the system recognizes you as someone who belongs in that layer. And every new opportunity starts to look the same, even when it feels different. So you keep moving, but never changing direction. And over time, that becomes your trajectory. And that trajectory becomes your limit. And that limit becomes your range, not temporarily, but permanently. If you understand this, you don't just move. You stop repeating, because switching faster doesn't change where you end up. It just gets you there sooner. And if you don't change direction, you will arrive at the same limit, again. If you want the full system behind this, it's in the description.